From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, reports that China's buying more U.S. soybeans. We're just days away from a possible partial government shutdown.
But I think short term, I really don't think President Trump wants to shut down the government.
And the effect that could have on MFP.
We're looking at our options over a shutdown as well.
AgDay, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. President Trump has approved a second round of market facilitation payments, but will they go out before a partial government shutdown? That shutdown now looming closer, the deadline, midnight Friday. Congress and the president have until then to pass a funding bill that covers 9 cabinet departments. That includes USDA. If not, thousands of federal workers will be furloughed, and that may include Farm Service Agency employees who have to process those MFP payments, according to USDA Undersecretary Bill Northey. Northey says the payments will take a week to 2 weeks to process, and that initial payments will go out before the end of the year, but that's only if there is not a government shutdown. Senate leaders are negotiating to avert that shutdown. The sticking point continues to be President Trump's demand for $5 billion for the border wall with Mexico. In talks Tuesday, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell proposed $1.6 billion for border security as outlined in a bipartisan Senate bill, plus an additional $1 billion the president could use on the border. The White House press secretary says the president is willing to work with Congress to avoid the shutdown.
Oh yeah, I think there's a number of chances that we might avoid the shutdown. At the same time, I'm not very optimistic that Democrats are going to yield on providing $5 billion for wall funding.
I'm hoping that working with Mr. Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, that the president will find a way to work with the Congress to help this thing get worked out. I believe it will work out.
Joining us now to talk more about the possible partial government shutdowns, our Washington reporter Jim Wiesmeyer. Jim, it looks like a shutdown is off the table for now. Jim, it seems like there's a lot of external pressure building, from the economy to a new Congress and, of course, this trade with China. As we get ready to turn the page on 2019, Jim, what are your key takeaways for the new year? Hey, as always, thank you for the insights from Washington. Much appreciated, Jim. So if the partial government shutdown did occur, here's a look at what would be affected, including aspects of USDA, FSA, and FDA. Here's a look at what would continue. We'd still get weekly grain export inspections, and inspections would continue on meat, poultry, and eggs. SNAP benefits would still be sent out, and the FDA would continue vital activities. We'll keep you posted on this on air and online as the deadline moves closer. But what about that farm bill? Will the president sign it before a shutdown? Washington insiders say yes. Reports are that House Speaker Paul Ryan will sign the bill today, and that means President Trump may sign it tomorrow. We'll keep you updated on this as well. On Tuesday, we got word that China is buying even more U.S. soybeans. Soybean traders in Chicago reporting China purchased an unknown quantity of beans. So far, USDA has confirmed buys of 1.5 million metric tons since the trade truce between the two countries began earlier this month. We'll have more on the impact that has had on markets today coming up. Producers sometimes have to get crafty when it comes to getting the job done, as meteorologist Cindy Clausen shows us. Today's crop comment. Cindy.
That's right, Clinton. Check out this video shared with us by Scott Bush on Facebook. It's a JD 3300 combine being floated across the Rock River. Now, this is between Erie and Prophetstown, Illinois. Now, all this to harvest beans on 109 acres on Indian Island. Good for them, just getting across the river. Well, let's take a look at our wind speed forecast. As we head through the day today, you could see some higher winds, especially over in the high plains and Rockies. Watch as we get through the day, and we're going to see those winds starting to push on off to the east into the plain states, while we see quieter conditions in the eastern part of the country. That storm system will continue to move across the plains, and you'll see those winds starting to pick up even into the Midwest and into the southern and central plains as well. And heading through the day on Thursday, you can see how everything progresses to the east and southeast, and we see windier conditions picking up in the northwestern part of the country again as well. I'll have a lot more coming up on your main weather segment, but for now, here are some hometown temps.
Plan for the unexpected with weather forecast updates. Local forecasts are delivered right to your cell phone each morning, making planning a little bit easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
A heartbreaking scene in Superior, Wisconsin after a historic grain elevator caught on fire. As you can see, not much left now. The fire happening at the Old Glove elevator. This is near the shores of Lake Superior. Flames were spotted shooting more than 150 feet into the air, creating a lot of smoke that could be seen miles away. The building was abandoned, but crews say 3 workers were in the building reclaiming wood when a spark ignited the fire. A spokesperson said the wood had already been sold. Total damage is estimated at $2.5 million. The structure was considered to be one of the biggest grain elevators in the world when it was built in the late 1880s. One of the major changes in the new tax code is deducting equipment. The new law applies to both new and used equipment purchases. As we continue our week of tax tips, Farm Journal tax expert Paul Neiffer says even with the change to the law, equipment owners still have some flexibility when it comes to deducting equipment purchases at year end.
Third tax tip for those farmers that need to upgrade their fleet and they're facing a fairly good sized tax bill. Certainly this year they have all the flexibility to buy new or used equipment. It isn't just new equipment, because all that equipment is going to be 100% deductible before year end if they want it to be, or they can elect out and take Section 179 to bring them down to the number they want.
Still ahead, why soybeans may not be the only story when it comes to China. And later, we'll take you to a town where Santa is a common sight this time of year, and we're not talking about the mall or someplace really cold. That's coming up. We'll be watching this later today as well. The Federal Reserve wrapping up a 2-day meeting. It's expected to raise its short-term interest rates by a quarter point. The rate is used as a benchmark for many consumer and business loans. Investors fear more monetary tightening would weigh on U.S. growth and eventually the global economy, which is already expected to slow next year because of trade tensions. Also in agribusiness, both corn and soybeans moving into positive territory again on Tuesday. More now from the floor of the CME.
Today, soybeans was up. The Chinese were buying a little bit more, and that's the announcement that came out of China. We were up at one point almost like 10 cents, but as soon as the market starts to rally like that, we see a little more profit taking coming in. I think it's just day by day as the market moves, and I think that a lot of the traders in the grain complex are hoping to get some news that the resolution is really on the horizon here, because I know that China is trying to make some good faith effort in making some purchases for soybeans and for corn. Now, with corn, the corn was firm today, but they're still waiting for news from China because they said that they were going to be doing something, but we haven't heard anything. Now, remember that when we get the reports, it's just the reports of what they say they're going to buy. So they haven't actually taken the shipments or anything like that, so we have to watch closely about that. Today, live cattle rallied. The beef cutouts were much higher this week and then gave a little boost to the market. Processing margins also remain very solid.
Brian Splitt with Allendale, our guest today. Brian, we've been talking a lot about soybeans over the last couple of weeks, but you think that maybe the story is really corn?
I do think if we can get a well-negotiated trade deal with China, that corn could be a big benefactor from that. And when you look at what's going on with world stocks, domestic stocks, I think a well-negotiated deal would put us in position to, number one, export quite a bit of ethanol to China. China has the intention of starting this ethanol program there, and number one, they would need to have some ethanol just to begin with. And number two, as they get their own infrastructure built, I'd like to see some preferential treatment for U.S. corn to China to start for their corn for ethanol. And I think we could also help them technology-wise. So I think based on what's already set in stone right now for our carryout domestically and globally, getting some extra business, especially with the most recent USDA report reducing our corn for ethanol and increasing the carryout, I think that could be walked backwards right off the bat.
Sure. So then there's potential for that rally. How does that relationship change as we get into 19 and we start working on this carryover that we do have?
Well, right now Allendale still thinks that even with an increase in acres that the overall carryout for corn is still going to be vulnerable. And by vulnerable I mean any kind of a production disruption could bring carryout to levels where we should see much higher prices. So I think if you can get a deal with China, it's going to mean better things for prices down the road.
All right. Well, appreciate you being here. We'll be back with more AgDay in just a couple minutes.
To talk to Brian Splitt one-on-one, call Allendale Incorporated at 800-551-4626 or email him at bsplit@allendale-inc.com. Join Andrew McRae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services.
It's amazing. It's the biggest waves I've seen in 40 years that I've been living in the Bay Area.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome, but pretty dangerous too. High surf warnings have been issued for the California coast. People in several areas along the state's coastline have been warned to stay out of the water. Some waves were reported to be up to 40 feet tall. The TV station in San Francisco reports the Mavericks Challenge surfing contest in Half Moon Bay, south of San Francisco, was postponed earlier this week because the high waves made it too dangerous. Welcome back to AgDay. Meteorologist Cindy Clausen here looking at the root zone moisture map. And Cindy, you can see, even here in December, it's really wet in certain parts of the country.
Oh, absolutely. And some areas just keep getting hit over and over again. And that includes the southeastern United States. Let's take a look. And you can see how the relentless rain and even snow that we've had, especially in the eastern part of the country, has really, really increased the amount of moisture we have all along the eastern seaboard, except for the far northeast and down in Florida. We're also looking at some pretty wet conditions in parts of the Plain States and even into northern parts of the Corn Belt, Texas, Oklahoma, parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, also very wet. Still remains a bit on the dry side out west. Now, this is what we're looking forward to as we head through the next 24 hours. We're going to see a couple of storm systems to watch. One in the northern United States. That front's going to creep eastward. As it does, it'll start to pick up some Gulf moisture. And thanks to this guy right here. This one is not going to be fun for those folks in the southeast, because as it starts to pull to the southeast and into southeastern United States, it's going to really bring a lot more moisture once again. So high pressure in control today for the eastern seaboard, but we've got some wet weather on the way. Putting this into motion, you can see that low continuing to push on off to the east. Not a ton of moisture with the northern front just yet, but we're going to start to pick up that Gulf moisture. Watch as we get into Wednesday night and on into Thursday morning, how that low pressure system continues to move on into the southeastern United States. So we're going to see some showers and thunderstorms there. A little bit of snow into the upper lakes. We got another system that's moving into the Pacific Northwest. Then as we head through the day on Thursday, the rain starts to spread into the mid-Atlantic states, and we start to see more moisture picking up along this front here as well, all the way up into the Great Lakes. High pressure controlling the weather in much of the plain states then as we get into Thursday. Here's a look at the precipitation estimate. Hasn't been a lot in the past 24 hours. Most of it has been in the northwestern part of the country, but boy, are we going to add to that, especially in the southeast and right along the Pacific Northwest as we see that next system coming in. Temperature-wise, we are looking at some 30s and 40s, even 50s and 60s down in the southern tier of the United States. But watch as we get into the next 24 hours. We're really going to see things cool down behind that front. So 30s and some 40s in a lot of the northern half of the United States. But as we look at our highs for Thursday, we're cooling down, especially as you get down to the Four Corners region and into the plain states. Taking a look at the jet stream, there's that trough that's going to be sliding through the southeast. So you see that storm system that's going to be affecting the southeast, mid-Atlantic, and the northeast as we get through the weekend. So wet weather there for your Christmas travel in the form of rain and eventually some snow. Zonal flow a little bit after that, but towards the end of next week, we see another trough developing in the western United States. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Blue Water, New Mexico, sunny and breezy for you today with a high of 51 degrees. Whitehall, Arkansas, showers and thunderstorms with a high of 56. And Red House, Maryland, sunny and warmer with a high of 49.
Coming up, a big prepackaged salad recall to tell you about, plus why this vehicle could soon become part of the grocery shopping routine. Next.
AgDay, brought to you by Prosaro Fungicide from Bayer.
In the Packer this week, another salad product recall to tell you about. A California-based company is recalling several Eat Smart salad products. That after the Canadian Food Inspection Agency said a random sample tested positive for listeria. The sample came from a sweet kale salad that had a best before date of December 14th. Now, the company is voluntarily recalling items produced on the same day and on the same line as a safety precaution. You're looking at pictures of some of the products recalled. We have more information online. Just head to agday.com and click on the link. And check this out. This may be how your groceries get delivered in the future. This unmanned vehicle called the Neuro R1 is now delivering groceries from Fry's food stores in Scottsdale, Arizona. Now, Fry's parent company is Kroger. Kroger says customers are looking for new and convenient ways to feed their families and buy products they need quickly through services like pickup and delivery. Now, Kroger's chief digital officer says this will help redefine the grocery experience by creating an ecosystem that offers customers anything, anytime, and anywhere. Coming up, we take you to a place where Santa seems to be everywhere, and we're definitely not talking about the North Pole. Next in the country.
You could win a Ford F-150 Raptor in the Ag Explore Truck Sweepstakes. Enter at trucksweeps.com. In the Country, brought to you by Kubota's M5 series, bringing new levels of comfort to hard work. Learn more at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
At holiday time, Santa seems to be everywhere, doesn't he? But a town near Tasmania, Australia seems to really love the guy in the red and white suit. This may not look like your typical Christmas scene with everything so green in Australia, but that's not stopping people from decorating with Santa. In fact, he seems to be everywhere. Well, the people there, they don't seem to mind his presence at all. They actually encourage it as much as they can on porches, in fields, in shop windows, even just beyond town limits.
Everyone's getting into the Christmas spirit, and it's good to see everyone all getting involved in this.
The local Lions Club provides the Santa costumes. The rest This is up to the locals. They estimate about 90 Santas are spread all over, and of course, just like the real Santa, come December 26th, all the displays will disappear. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you spent time with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.